I'm going to take you through 3 different mods that I've made to show you how you can make your own mods and give you a jumping off point. So first we're going to cover modding pickups. Pickups are things that units can walk over and interact with, like potions, scrolls, portals, etc. So this is the mod file, and here I've defined a pickup called huge trap. So if we scroll up, here it is. It is of type iPickupSource. A source is the file that an instance is made from. So a pickup source defines the behavior of the pickup, and then the instance is the instance of the pickup that lives in the world. So there's some basic properties that we're going to assign to this pickup. The image path dictates what it looks like. Now in this case, I'm reusing an image from the game, the trap, and I'm just going to make it bigger. If you want to reuse an image, you can see there is a sprite sheet in your local files, resources, app, source, build, and then it's sheet1.png is this right here. These are all the sprites that I've included in the game. And then sheet1.json shows you what those correspond with. So if I open that up, I can just search for, here it is, pickups/trap, and then these are each of the images that creates the animation, and then there's also trap attack and there's trap magic. And so we'll get into these later. So in order to use an animation in the way that it's constructed in these sprite sheets, we stop it right before the underscore. So it's saying, if it's pickup/trap, it's saying it's going to play the animation for all of these images and rotate through those images. So if we go into the game and we look at a trap pickup, you can see that it's animating and it's cycling through those animations. Okay, so that's what the image path is. The animation speed is self-explanatory. Player only means that the trap will only trigger for players. So this is like a portal. Units can't walk through portals. Single use means it'll be destroyed when it's done. The name is self-explanatory. The probability is the probability that it'll show up. So higher probability means more likely to show up among other pickups. Lower means less likely. The scale is just the size of the pickup. This is one of the things that I'm changing about huge trap. As opposed to the regular trap, it's a bit larger. 1 is the default size. The description is a string that has to be in an array. This is because in the game I use localization to translate all strings in the game into different languages. In the case of the mods, it's only going to be in English. So just put a single string inside of an array. Will trigger is a function that can be used to guard against the pickup triggering under certain conditions. So when a pickup will potentially trigger, this is invoked, and what gets passed in is the unit that stepped on it, the player that belongs to that unit. So if it's a player unit, the player object comes along with it, the pickup instance itself, and the underworld. Now the underworld is the actual game world state. So if I type underworld dot, because we're connected to the types here, thanks to this reference right here, you can see all of the properties and functions accessible in the game state if you want to do something complex. For now, this is just saying it'll trigger so long as the unit isn't undefined. Now the effect function is where the real magic happens. This function is invoked when a pickup does trigger. So similarly, the unit instance is passed in that triggered it, the player that belongs to the unit if it's a player unit, the instance of the pickup itself, prediction, which I'll explain in a moment, and underworld. So the effect function triggers in 3 separate contexts. One context is on the server. The server is headless, which means that it doesn't have any visuals and it doesn't have any sounds. It's just data on a server. And so we have to be careful to run certain things like animations on the game client that the users are playing on, but not on the server, because the server shouldn't artificially wait for an animation to complete. It should process the function immediately and update the game state. A prediction is when the function is called on a kind of mirror copy of the game world to see what's going to happen. So I'll give you an example of this right now. So here I have a golem and a trap behind him, and I'm going to push him into it. Now you'll see that it updates the icon above him to show that he's going to die, and it removes all his health. What it's doing right now is a prediction calculation. It's saying that when this golem runs into this trap, it's going to take full damage and die. The way that that works is that this effect function is triggered on a copy of the unit called a prediction copy, and then that prediction copy actually takes damage. So we don't want to trigger sound effects or animations on the prediction copy of the unit, or else they'll be created and the player will see the animations unfold while the prediction is showing, and we don't want that. So basically, this if statement prevents this code from running in the prediction context and prevents it from running on the headless server. The code that runs for all three is take damage. If we want to see what this does, we can hover over it, or we can click F12 and go to the type file. The first argument is the unit that's taking the damage. The second is the amount of the damage. The third is where the damage came from. In this case, we're just passing in the unit again because it's coming from right underneath them. The underworld game state, whether or not it's a prediction, that part's important because that determines if it's, a prediction unit is taking damage or the unit itself. And then effect state, which is a little bit more complicated, and I'll cover that later in the tutorial that shows how to mod spells. So this one is running under all three contexts. This code is only running in the real client in not a prediction, and it's it's causing these animations to run. Pickups trap attack and pickups trap magic, which is just some effects that kind of bloom over the trap. So if I go ahead and push this guy into the trap, you'll see these animations play right there. There was the magic, that little yellow explosion, and the trap animated shut as if it closed. So that was this playing. So that's it for this pickup right here. In the spell modding tutorial, I'll show you how to create your own custom animations and your own sound effects. For now, in order to add this to the game, you need to wrap it in the mod object, export the mod object, and then in index.ts, we need to import that and include it in the mods array. And then when we build and copy the necessary files into the game files and run the game, it'll play. If you missed that part, please check out the earlier tutorial that shows how to set up modding. I'll see you in the next tutorial.